Welcome to day 15 of our free sewing class. In today's class, we are going to sew a skirt, a layered skirt or a tiered skirt as it is popularly called. This is the skirt we are going to sew, something like this. I saw this image and I felt, let's start. Let's sew something like this. So let me explain this skirt. This skirt has 3 layers, the first, the second, and the third, meaning it has joining at this spot that you can see. All right, let's start. This is the fabric I'll be using to sew, and I'll be making this style for a 10-year-old girl. So it's for a baby girl. Adults can wear it, so you just use the measurements of whoever is wearing it. And because the fabric I'll be using, if I chalk it, you might not see the pattern, so that is why I want to use this paper first to draft out the pattern. Then I will now place it on the fabric and cut. All right, the first thing you need is where the first layer will stop. That is the length. And you can, it's if you like, it can go a little bit below your hip. Like I said, for an adult, your waist to your hips most times is between 7 to 9 inches. So you can now add like 3 or 4 inches to it, so that it will come a little below the hip. For this one I'm doing now, she's a baby, she's a girl, a little girl, so our waist to hip is 6. So I added 2 to it because I want it to go a little bit down. And also I added 1 inch sewing allowance because we need ½ inch at these 2 points. The upper, that first arrow and the second arrow, we need ½ inches at that point. So in total I measured 9 inches. If you are sewing for an adult, then you use whatever measurement is convenient for you. Now on this line, I will measure the waist. I will divide the waist circumference by 4. The waist circumference divided by 4, that is what I just measured, and I will add 1 inch sewing allowance to it. Now from that waistline, I will go from the waistline to, I will measure 6. That is where my hip line will be. So if you are sewing for an adult, you measure maybe 8 for an adult. All right, so I will now put the hip measurement divided by 4. I'll put the hip measurement divided by 4. I will add 1 inch sewing allowance. Now the next thing is to connect the 2 points. I'll connect all my points. Like I said, this the upper part of this skirt will go a little bit down from the hip. So that is I have explained all those considerations. So I'll just use this curve ruler to join it straight down. So once I'm done with this, I will cut out this pattern. I'll cut out this paper. I will now place it on my fabric. You can do this directly on your fabric. The reason why I use this paper is because, like I explained, if I use chalk or anything to mark that fabric, you won't see what I'm doing properly. So I just had to use this paper for you so that you understand what I'm doing. So let me just cut it, and I'll place it on the fabric so that we can cut out. This is the front. I want the skirt to have zip at the back, so I'll be adding zipper allowance when I'm cutting the back part of this skirt. All right, this is the full pattern. This is what it looks like. So I'll take it to the fabric now, fold the fabric into 2, and I will cut out the front part of the skirt of the upper of the first layer. We are dealing with the first layer now. Like I explained to you in our first sewing project, when you get your fabric, you look at the pattern, then you look at how stretchy it is. It's slightly stretchy this way, slightly stretchy, but this side it's not stretchy at all. So if I am to consider it, this stretchy part will go around. But there's another thing you need to consider, like I explained. You need to consider the pattern. Look at this pattern. This is the non-stretchy part, but if I cut it like this line will be standing like vertical, and I don't want it vertical, I want it horizontal, I want it lying. So I will have to use the non-stretchy part, I mean, as the parts that will go around the body. So I'll just, since the stretchiness is not that much, I will change the orientation. I'll change the orientation like this, and I'll cut out the front of the first layer. Alright, this is what it looks like. Now I want to use that same pattern to cut the back. It's almost the same thing. The only difference is I'll put 1 inch at the center back, which will serve as my zipper allowance. And if you like, you can put your zip by the side. So if you are putting it by the side, you will not need zip allowance at the back. You will just put it, because of the side seam, definitely you join it by the side, so you can put your zip there. But I just want the zip at the back. So you see the 1 inch zip allowance, so I'm cutting it open so that the back will be 2, and I am notching the upper part, because if you don't notch the upper part, you can be confused eventually. I already explained in our first project. All right, so this is what it looks like. The next thing is to cut a lining fabric for it. Use lining fabric. Make sure your lining fabric, I've not explained what lining fabric is, but lining is that inside, the inside you put whatever, that any material you put inside your project, inside your gown, your skirt. I'm sure you should know what lining is. So that is what I'm doing. I'm using a green lining just for you to see. For it, if I use a red, you might not be able to see what the lining properly. That's why I'm using a contrast color. So I will open it. This is for the back. Then I'll cut the lining for the front. Then I'll take it to my sewing machine and I will attach lining to this to the upper part of this skirt. And like I said, the upper part where I will sew the lining, I will use 1/2 inch, and the lower part I will join the material, the gather, to it with 1/2 inch. That is why I added the 1 inch allowance I added earlier, if you understand. All right, this is, I'm trying to look for the right side and the left side. I'll put at the upper part, which is the waistline. Now that is where I want to sew. I will join the lining with the material. There are different ways of sewing. This is one of the easiest and the simplest one. So that is why I'm using this method. There's another type of sewing method where everything you sew will be inside. You will not see any seam, any sewing or any rough edge inside your fabric, inside your clothes. That's another type of sewing. But since we are at beginners level, this is one of the easiest way of, or method of sewing. All right, so I'm joining the upper part, now the waistline, the lining with my fabric. The right side of the lining will face the right side of the fabric, and you will sew with 1/2 inch. So after sewing like this, I will notch. Our first project, I explained what notching is. You will cut the excess you cut the excess and then you will understitch. I explain what understitching is also, and the difference between top stitching and understitching. So I'll cut it. I will not get to that sewing. You will not cut that stitch line. If you cut the stitch line, then you've spoiled whatever it is you are doing. So I just make sure it's very close. Then I will open it. The seam will be towards the lining, and I will understitch. So this is what I will do to the three parts. You know, the back has two and the front. So I will do everything like this, and I'll come back to show you the next step. All right, this is the theory. Now I need to iron it like I explained, and I'm still saying ironing is very important. So I will iron them and I will make sure everything is okay. I already ironed it. This is what it is. The lining is excess, so I will trim off the excess. Now I must say that if you can add interface to this upper part of the skirt if you want. Some of us are not familiar with what interface is. I think in another class I will explain what interface is. We have different type of interfacing. You can use any one, but a light one, because the fabric I'm using is light. So heavy interfacing might not work. This what I'm showing you is an example of interfacing. So this one is popularly called hairstay. I think you can use it if you want, but I didn't use it in this project. All right, let's continue. So I will just trim the excess lining and I will show you the next step. All right, this is the back part. I will put it right side to right side, and I will sew the 1 inch zipper allowance. I will go fix my zipper at that point. I already taught you how to fix zipper, so I will go fix the zipper. You see, this is the zipper for the back. I already fixed it. There are different ways. You can use invisible zipper. I would have even loved to use invisible zipper here, but I don't have access to invisible zipper now, so that's why I didn't use it. All right, I have the front. Let me explain how to do the joining. This is the front of that upper layer. This is the back that I've already fixed the zipper. Now I'm going to divide my waist by 4, whatever your waist is. So you now place your tape at the center from the zip to the side. My waist divided by 4, I will mark. Then I will measure to where the hip will be. Hip divided by 4, I will mark. Hip divided by 4, I will mark. Then I will join the points and I will take it to my machine and sew. You can pin down your work here. Use pin to pin it down because you are a beginner. Then this chalking is important so that your hand will be straight. Just take it to the sewing machine and follow that mark. All right, I already sewed the part. Then I will now turn it the other way. You see, when we first mark, our zipper was up, you could see the zip. Now I have turned it. Now I will divide my waist by 2. The other time we divided by 4. Now we are dividing by 2. Then from that waist, you measure to where your hip is. Remember, my own hip, waist to hip here is 6. So I will divide my hip 2 by 2, and I will mark the point. So the next thing is to join with that chalk. Take it to my sewing machine and sew it. So after sewing, at this point, you take it to your overlocking machine and overlock your raw edge. Then you take it to your ironing table and you iron it. Already sewn. The next thing is to overlock and to iron. You open your seam and you press it very well. I told you ironing is very important. So you open it and the first layer is done. You see it, because it's for a small child, the hip is not coming out well. Assuming it's for an adult, you see the hip coming out very well. So now I will just iron it and I will explain the next step. Now when you look at this cloth we are trying to achieve, the first, second and third layer looks as if they are equal. So that is one thing that you can use to achieve how to divide these layers. Like for the person I'm sewing for, our length, the length of our skirt is 24. So I divided them equal. The first layer is 8, second layer 8, third layer 8. But if you discover that your own skirt is not, you don't want it equal, you can make any of the layers longer or shorter. But at the end, by the time you add first layer, second layer, third layer, it must equal to the length of the skirt. I hope you understand that. So since our first layer is 8, second layer is 8, third layer is 8, I will be cutting the second layer now 8, and I will add 1 inch to it to make it 9, because I need half layer to join at these 2 points of this arrow. I will join it at the upper arrow and the lower arrow. So that is why I am cutting 9 strip, 9 long strip, 9 inches I mean. So this is a, and then how will I know? That is the height. Now to know how long it will be, I have to measure the lower part of my skirt. I have 14 here times 2, that is front and back, that will be 28. Now this gathering we want to achieve, it depends on how many material or how large your material is. But for this style, this particular style, if you want it very full the way it is in the picture, then that measurement, this 28, which is my hip, you can multiply it by 4. You can multiply it by 4. But for this one I'm sewing, I will multiply 28 by 3. That is you see this strip, I already cut the strip, the 9 inches by the 28 times 3, that is like 84. So the length of this strip that I cut is 84. I added 1 inch to it because of the joining. I'll have to join. If you want it fuller, you can multiply your 28 by, or your hip by maybe 4 or 5. Then it will give you the length. Then you see this, it is 9 inches. It is by 9 inches. So I have 9 inches by 84 or 85 inches. So the next thing is to take it to my sewing machine and I will join it. you know, it is actually long straight, so I will join both ends together so that I can form like a circle. I hope you get that. Then after joining it like this, I will gather it using my sewing machine. If you have watched yesterday's lesson, you will understand how to do the gathering. You should know how to do the gathering by now. So just keep watching. And this exact thing I did for this second layer, which is the the hip multiplied by 3, it gave me 84. That is what I cut, and that is what I want to gather now. Now for the third layer you can do times 2 of the second layer. I hope you understand. The thing is this: each of these gather must be, if you have 4 layers, the third layer must be more than the second layer. Or no, let me say it like this: the second layer must be more than the first layer, the third layer must be more than the second layer, the fourth layer must be more than the third layer. Now that we have 3 layers, we already measured our up of layer 1, which gave us 28. Now for the second layer, we now multiply 28 by 3, which gave me 84 that I am gathering right now. Now for the third layer, we can now say that 84 times 2. If you want it fuller, make it times 3. Then you have a very long strip. Then you gather it exactly like the way we gather this second layer, and you will join it. I hope it makes sense. I'm not sure. I know I'm trying to explain it the best way I can. So now I already gathered the second layer. I will take it to I will join it with the first layer, right side to right side, and I will join it. So after doing this, then I will take the fabric again and cut 84 times 2. That is like 168 inches. That will be for the third layer. And because this is a small girl skirt, I don't want it too full. But if you want it very full, like what we have in the picture, then your second layer should be times 3 of your hip. Then your third layer should be times 3 of your second layer, or times 2.5 of your second layer. I don't know if that mathematics makes sense, but basically that is how this skirt is achieved. If you have any question for me, you can drop it in the comment section. Okay, this is layer 1 and layer 2. Now I will go cut layer 3 and I will join it, and I'll come back to show you the final product of the skirt. So I'll just cut the third layer, gather it, join it, and come back to show you the final product. I hope you have learned something interesting in this video. This is what this skirt looks like. It's actually very, very beautiful. We have the second layer, the third layer, and you just double fold the hem. And our skirt is ready. So you can do whatever length works for you and whatever fullness works for you. And I will see you in the next class.